Welcome in. Hello. Welcome in. Candace. Hello. Welcome. Gina. Welcome. Hi. Welcome in. Aisha. Sorry, I had the been a bit of a confusion over the meetings. I've got the wrong meeting logged in my browser, so um I'm sorry for starting the meeting a little bit late. I was in a different meeting. Um Hi, Cherry. Good to see you.
Hello.
Hiya. I'm just gonna check. So, Kelly can't make it. Okay, so we're just waiting for Canon. But I think we'll begin. Um, so welcome in, everyone. Thank you for joining, and it's so wonderful to have you here. Um, I think we'll just start with introductions and then I can give you a kind of sense of what we'll do and kind of where we'll start today. Um, so just a show of hands, just did anyone watch the masterclass last year in August? Okay, so some of you've seen it. Okay, you don't have to have had, but it's just good for me to kind of get a sense. You kind of have an idea of kind of, you know, um what we'll cover, what this will be about, kind of my position, how I teach it, etc. You kind of have some awareness. I know Cherry comes to my psychic development class, so everyone else I'm new to. So I would really love for us to just begin. I mean, maybe I will start with an introduction, just for those of you who don't know me so well. So my name is Shaka. And I have been with the school since 2021. I started as a student myself, and work as a psychic and work as a yoga teacher. This is my work. I also do massage, Reiki, energy work, body work, etc. as well. Here's Canon. Hang on a moment. Canon. Oh, she's connecting to audio. Let's see. Canon, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Sorry, just getting
Hi. Well, have
situated.
I pronounced your name
Hi.
correctly as well?
Uh, no, it's actually Janan. It's spelled with a C, but pronounced with a J. So it's a bit weird.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Welcome
Of
in.
course. No worries.
An introduction.
Thank you.
So you're all good. I was just introducing myself. Um, how this course came about is it's a course that's actually been in the making for a number of years, actually. It's something that I've wanted to share, wanted to put together for a very long time. And it just happened last year. I spoke to Cindy and we've said, hey, let's do it. And we made it happen. And our first cohort last year was just a really, it was incredibly powerful, a lot more powerful actually than I anticipated. And so really pleased to be running it again, and really pleased to have you all here, and really excited about sharing this content. And it's not just content and theory, as we know, it's tools, and so I'm sure that there will be a personal journey with it as well. So just know always you've got my email, you've got my number. So anytime you can ask me questions. I will send the recordings, so I'll do all the recordings as well, and send them out each week. I would generally prefer to do WhatsApp, so if everyone's happy to, please join the WhatsApp group. We have got the previous cohort in there, so it's a really nice building community in terms of a place to share resources, meet other sensitives like yourself, and just know that you're not alone. And I just think it's really, really important for us to know, because I think part of what makes the empath path so difficult is, one, kind of living with that level of sensitivity, but also the aloneness of coming when there might not be people that around you that fully understand why you're so sensitive, why things feel so deeply. So I'm hoping, what my intention is, to continue to keep building a larger community of sensitives. So if you're happy to, please join. If you are not happy to join, that's also fine. Just let me know, and I'll send an email as well. But preferably for me, it's WhatsApp. But just let me know what you prefer as well. Okay. So let's do introductions. I mean, let me know a little bit about you, what brings you here, your journey. Yeah, let me know, yeah, why here, why now, and yeah, whatever else you want to bring into the space. I'll start just from the top of my screen. So I'm going to start with Candice. So welcome in, Candice.
Hi, Shaka. Hi, everyone. I'm from South Africa, Gauteng, and I'm busy doing the healing course with the international school. And I just wanted to know how to protect my energy. I'm a very sensitive person and I battle to go anywhere, shopping centers, to have people around me. It's a huge battle for me, and I'd like to learn extra protection and things that I can do so that I'm not so absorbent with all the energies. Yeah, I've been like this all my life from when I can remember. It's quite hectic.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to learning.
Mm. I really hope I hope we can give you what you need, and it really can support you on the healing journey as well. Because I was going to say, I imagine doing the healing course is also making you even more sensitive. You're even becoming more attuned to your gifts. So I'm hoping this space is just perfect timing, can complement your journey with the healing course as well.
I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, I went through your masterclass video and everything you said in there resonates with me when you and Cindy were talking and that. It's just, I'm really looking forward to this.
Awesome. So happy to have you here. Thank you, Candice. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And Gina, you're next on my screen. Welcome.
Hi everybody. I'm in London in UK. Um, why I'm here? So I've sort of flipped in and out. I'm known I've been highly sensitive, for a very, very long time. I read Elena Auren's book and it meant everything. But the empath stuff has come a bit later. And I've kind of flipped in and out of energy work, healing work, psychic work, but I've never kind of committed to it. And I think partly because I've struggled with being highly sensitive, accepting that I'm highly sensitive, because when I was younger, it was considered a thing to ridicule. And so I've had to do a lot of work to clear that. But last year, I realized my kind of sensitivities were kind of getting really, really strong, and I was being really called to do psychic work. And so I spoke to Cindy, and we kind of I realized, but she kind of confirmed that I don't manage my energies very well. Like you, Candice, I have real problems in going, so, especially in London, going on the tube is an absolute nightmare for me. So she suggested that I do this course first before I go on to do psychic work, psychic development work. So that's why I'm here, and I'm hoping also to learn. You see, I can put protections in place, but what I find is that kind of shuts everything down. So I think I'm probably perhaps putting too many protections in place. So I want to find that balance so I can still be, still be an empath, still be psychic, but not be overwhelmed with it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh my
me.
goodness. I'm sure we can all relate, and I really hope this can give you what you need as well. And I think they do go hand in hand. I mean, obviously, I work as a psychic, Jerry's on the psychic development course as well. They do go hand in hand. Often those of us who are highly sensitive have got like psychic and healing gifts. And then it is just this way of managing oneself. And like you said, being able to protect yourself, but not build these walls of isolation and find that balance. So yeah, totally. Yeah, we're with you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you, Gina. Thank you so much. And Cherry, nice to see you.
Hi. Yeah, it was a very last minute decision to join.
Literally today.
So, well, I decided yesterday, but I didn't get around to signing up till this afternoon. But yeah, so yeah, I'm as you mentioned, I'm on the psychic development course, and I've just signed up to do the next. Well, it's the same level, right? But the second time round.
Yep.
So that'll be on a Thursday. Yeah, I was a bit worried that doing 2 nights a week would be too much, but I actually feel like I really need it right now. I've had quite a stressful month, and I've moved house since we were on the last course. I literally brought the last of my stuff over to this morning, so kind of felt like good timing as well. So yeah, I've had a lot going on in the last 6 months, and this is about kind of grinding and rebuilding my energy quite a lot at the minute. I've painted the walls red and like orange for the like base chakras because I need to grind.
Grounding, anchoring.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I resonate with everything that's already been said by, the people who've introduced themselves. I've always been super sensitive. I hate London Underground. I hate shopping centres. I don't like big crowds. I get tired very easily in group situations. And I feel like, I have to spend a lot of time alone to recharge, but sometimes it feels a bit extreme, the sort of the pendulum. And I'd like to be able to just feel more balanced in general, or for not to take so long for me to recharge or to not get so drained so fast. So it feels a bit like, caffeine crashes or something, like kind of intense connection and then just crashing. And, I do massage as well and hoping to open up a bit more psychically too. But I guess that's, scary at the same time, because you know that it's going to be more, you're going to feel more, it's going to be more intense. So one of the girls on the psychic development course recommended this one. So this is why I'm here. And it feels really important to be in a community as well. So I think just knowing that I'm going to do the class in the evening is like almost like a little buoyancy aid or something. It just feels nice to be with like-minded people who understand why I'm such a weirdo. So
No, but it's true. No, yeah. But I hear what you're saying. And I think, and I can relate to this so much. Cherry's like that. And even Gina, you saying like knowing you're sensitive, but actually just being reticent to actually like finally admit to yourself, like, I think I might, because I'm not a massive fan of labels. I don't know how helpful they are, but sometimes it really can just be like, okay, this is why I experience the world like this. And then giving yourself permission to move through the world in ways that actually meet you, rather than trying to fit in a world that doesn't meet you. And the world that we live in right now, like you say, I use, well, you can hear from my accent, I'm originally from London. I'm actually currently in Peru at the moment, but I live in Costa Rica, so I'll be back in Costa Rica next week. And for that reason, like London, I couldn't, it just would, I need more nature, more spaciousness. I've been very lucky to be able to make that move. But absolutely, we're not in environments that support us, and leaves us thinking that there's something wrong with us, when actually it's just that we're not in the right environment that supports us. And so I'm glad, and I'm hoping that part of this process is having this community and knowing, okay, I'm not on my own. I'm not a weirdo, because that is such a big part of going, okay, and giving yourself permission to give yourself what you need, and that confidence as well, So yeah, it's wonderful.
Definitely.
Yeah, let's anchor it in. Thank you so much. And Aisha, have I pronounced that correctly as well?
I'm based in Abu Dhabi, and I'm also doing a course for the college, the International Healing Energy course. The reason I'm here is my healing journey started 2 years back, when I started to learn and started my own healing journey. And then in the process, I started to learn healing. But when I started to do healing exchanges and the malls, and I realized, wow, there's something is wrong with me, because I'm absorbing, and all the shielding and protection techniques that I've learned are not working for me. And I really, really have to reach out to my teachers to actually do the proper clearing. And then I stopped exchanges last year, like completely, because I realized I can't do it anymore. It's not worth it. Despite the fact a lot of people approached me, I said, no, thank you. I'm taking a break. I'm working on myself. Then I got enrolled in this course. And then when this course come up, and this morning when I opened up your video, I'm like, oh my God, the challenges. I realized I'm an empath. I didn't even know. And there's nothing weird with me. Like there are people like me, like all the boxes were ticked. Yes, yes, yes. I'm like, okay, so I'm glad I've enrolled for this course because I'm going to learn. And I'm not different from a lot of people. So yeah, and that's why I'm here.
Yes, 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 yes. And I really hope that this can help you get back to your healing work, because I feel that you've got a natural talent. And I feel that you've got a very you need to be doing this work. But it's just finding a way to make this work meet you in a way that it's not going to drain your energy. Yeah, I feel like there's something quite specific there for you. I feel like there's a quite specific tool that you need. There's something that's just missing here. So yeah, I'll be I'll be paying mindful for that, and I hope you can find it here. Thank you, Aisha, and welcome. Not going mad, not alone, not crazy. Yeah, it all starts to make sense. So yeah, thank you so much.
Funny, right? You really need it, and you're calling your teacher. Like something is not right. The teacher is in Germany. Okay, I'm coming to Abu Dhabi, and we have to meet. And my husband is like, "What's going on?" It's not working.
Where are you? Where did you say you are? Where are you? Where did you say you are?
I'm based in Abu Dhabi.
In Abu Dhabi,
UAE.
Abu Dhabi. Sorry, I didn't hit. Yeah, Abu
Dubai?
Dhabi. Yeah.
Dubai.
I know. Yeah. I know.
Dubai.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you, Aisha. And Janan, last but not least.
Hi. Yeah. Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'm from Turkey originally, from Istanbul, but I live in London. So what brought me to this course? I mean, I agree with a lot of the things everybody has said, almost everything, basically. I always feel like everything feels too much sometimes, and I've been called like too emotional or too sensitive my entire life. And I never kind of knew what to do with that, ex-boyfriends, parents, it could be anybody that just like, it's just something is too much always. So I never understood it. And then lately, I think through therapy, my own journey of healing, I discovered that I am an empath. And then while I read, because there's not a lot of books out there actually on being an empath, which is weird, but I found a great book, a few books. And then I was like, every page, I was like, this is valuable. How did I not know this sooner? So it was like, it felt really reassuring, comforting, and kind of like, okay, you're not alone, basically. It's that feeling of being understood by every word that I read. And then with that, I kind of wanted to get into energy healing, learn more about it. Course, during that research, I found about this course, basically. And that's how this whole research led me to this. And I was like, it'd be a good idea to understand myself a bit better, and also about protecting my energy and yeah, just understand a lot more about what I didn't understand a lot of the time, I guess, during my life, and then take it maybe the next step of learning energy healing and stuff, but first manage myself a bit better in my own energy. And so
exciting.
I guess also, I know, to not be kind of taken advantage of, because I've always had that problem of like, use the good sides about it in the hands of the wrong side. So it's kind of like learn to not do that, rather than use it as a gift, rather than kind of use it and then be like, okay, it's like a curse kind of thing. But
absolutely. Yeah. Well, you're not the first to do this course and then go on to do like the healing course or the psychic course, or because I think what this course can do is just ground you in that confidence, and know that it is actually a gift. It's not a curse. I know sometimes it might feel like it sometimes, but it isn't. It's actually, there's a reason why we've been given these gifts of deep feeling. And it is my view in some ways that actually collectively what's happening is, the world right now is moving further and further away from that. So that's why our natural abilities can feel so extreme, but it's only actually in extremity in contrast to the world that we're living in. It's actually not. It's actually a very normal, healthy, way of experiencing the world. But it's just that we are living currently in a world that is moving further and further away from that. So yeah, I do believe it has this collective context as well. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I believe all of us should be out here in the world being absolutely all that we are, and making this world a better place, because I know that that's what ultimately empaths do. Yeah. So thank you so much, Janan. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and let's just start. I always like to start with a nice grounding practice. I'm hoping you can hear me, because I've got a fan on here, and I'm hoping, is it too loud or anything like that? Can you actually hear me okay? Yeah, is that all right? Okay, cool. It's not coming through too strong. All right, wonderful. So let's just start. Let's just begin together in practice. Just find yourself in a nice comfortable position, however you are, on a chair, on the floor, on the bed. If you can, try to have your back supported. And let's just arrive. Let's take a nice deep inhale through the nose. You can exhale through the mouth. And then if you want to, you can exhale with a bit of a sound, a woo sound on the exhale. We'll just do that one more time. Inhale through the nose. Ooh. Just let that exhale go. Just one last time. Let the shoulders go. And just with your eyes closed, just first of all, take a moment just to bring your awareness to where you are in this moment. Maybe just paying attention to anything you can hear. Maybe any smells. Even sensation on your skin, the clothes on your skin, or the furniture that you're touching, or the parts of your body that are touching each other. So just kind of really locating yourself in this moment with the eyes closed. So just bringing all of your extra senses. And you can even consciously imagine yourself coming back to your center. So maybe, especially for those of you who've had a day already, just drawing back parts of yourself that are out there in the world. Unfinished conversation, to-do list, things that you've done today. And just allowing yourself to come into your body, into this moment. Let your sitting bones be heavy. Let your base sink into your support, into your chair. Softening the shoulders. And then just softening the forehead, back of the eyes, the facial muscles, the jaw. And then if it feels comfortable, we're just going to take your awareness to your breath, to your breathing. So breathing in from your base, from your base chakra, all the way through the center of your body, up to the crown of your head. And as you exhale, you're sending the breath back down the body, down from the crown of the head, back down to the base. And if at any time that internal focus just feels uncomfortable, then you can just bring your awareness back to the external, to the sounds, to the smells, to what you can sense. But if it is okay and it's comfortable, just find that rhythm with your breath. So maybe even like a pendulum. Or like the waves in the sea. Inhaling up the spine, exhaling down the spine. Keep following the breath. Just allow the breath to be that point of focus. In and out. Up and down. And if it feels comfortable, I just want you to bring your presence, your awareness to your internal world, your internal space. How are you feeling in this moment? What's present and alive? I'm just going to invite you to find balance. So if what's present or alive for you feels somewhat challenging, I'm going to invite you to find something else that feels good, spacious, positive. And if you finding something very positive, then also just finding if it's just noticing, is there anything that is challenging present also? And this could be a sensation in the body. It might not have words. Might be something that you're very aware of already. Or maybe something that's revealing itself to you in this moment. If you can, just stay with the breath, but don't lose that connection with your breath. Don't lose that connection with your body. Try to feel into it. If you notice at any time the mind is kind of running away and being caught up in the story, just come back to the breathing. Up the spine as you inhale, down the spine as you exhale. Just bringing your presence, your awareness, your breath to all of it, to all that is here right now in you. Nice, steady breath. Just knowing that you have the capacity, the energy, the space is enough to hold all of you, all of your parts, all that you bring, and all that you are. Nice, deep, long, steady breath. We're going to take our left hand to our heart, our right hand to our abdomen. Just take a moment just to notice what it feels like to hold yourself, the energy of your hands on your body, and staying with that lovely, long, steady breath. Just noticing, is there any tension in the forehead, any tension behind the eyes? If you can, just let it go. Just release any tension. Again, just holding that presence to all that is alive for you in this moment, all that is here, all that is present. Breathing in Being out, being with yourself, being with the sensation. Being in this moment together. Feeling your chest rise and fall as you inhale and exhale, feeling the abdomen expand and contract as you inhale and exhale. Welcome to set any intentions, thing you would like to bring your attention or your awareness to. Thing that you need, anything that you're striving towards. Hopes, dreams. Staying with the strength of your breath. Stay with the breath, stay with the feeling, noticing how that lands in your body. It feels to hold yourself in this moment with the truth of your desires. Connecting that left hand to your heart, your right hand to your abdomen. In your heart, that place of expanse, courage, love, compassion, true desire. In your abdomen, place of intention, direction, action. Feeling the balance, the connection. Bring those two energies together as we inhale. And exhale, you can bring the hands together in prayer position. Any position you like, but just place the palms together. Again, just stay with your breath for the moment. Just bringing those two energies together. The being and the doing. Challenge and the ease. Holding it all in this moment. Connecting it. Using the breath. You can use that inhale to expand any parts of you that need expansion and space. You can use that exhale to just soften into yourself just a little bit more. And let's take a nice deep inhale. As we exhale, we can bow the head. And drop the chin down, relax the hands down. And then whenever you're ready, you can raise your head and open your eyes and bring your attention back into this space. So I'm going to just give you 5 minutes. Just if anything came up and you want to just take your journal, take some water, just take a moment just to bring your attention and your awareness back. If anything came up, just maybe take your journal, write it down, make a note, and I'll just give us just 5 minutes. Okay. How are we all doing? Some of you are ready, some of you still need a bit more time. I mean, you have got a minute and a half, so don't worry, don't rush if you need that time. Just, I live for that sound, honestly, it's the best. Um, all right. Okay. I think we're all set already. We're all back. Before I jump into the lecture, does anyone want to share? Does anyone want to bring anything into the space? I just want to hold space for that. You don't have to, but if you would like to share, um, you're welcome to, and Rita will love to hold it for you. But sometimes these can be just personal. You might want to keep that to yourself, but yeah. Anyone want to? Okay. All right. So let's get into it. So I've got a little presentation for you. Oh, what's happened there? Hang on. Oh, God, here we go. Right, here we go. That, and then. So I'm not I'm not the most technically, it's not technically smooth here. So just work with me. But I've got this now. Right, here we are. So hoping you can see this. Can you see this? Let me let me change from the start. Here we are. Great. And I can see you all as well. Oh, this one. No, do it like this. Yeah, great. Okay, because I can see you now. All right, so course for empaths. We begin. So, this was just a general of what our class will look like each week when we come together. So we will start like we did today, with a little bit of a check-in. It's a space to bring things in, into the space, anything you want to share from the week or how you're feeling. So we always just start with a little check-in at the beginning. And then we'll do a meditation, or some kind of embodiment visualization practice. So these change each week. We do something slightly different. And then we have the lecture, which is what we'll cover today, which is just information, essentially, and also gives you a chance to ask questions, engage. And then we have some journal prompts and personal reflection, so an opportunity to start to relate this theory with your personal experience. And then we've got some group exercises as well. So we'll do a few breakout rooms, some different kinds of exercises that we'll do different every week. And then we'll close with a grounding prayer and meditation, and just close out the group. And that will be our general, what would you say, what our class will look like each week. Okay, so we're going to start at the beginning. What is an empath? We kind of know what an empath is, right? So I know some of you just already will have a familiarity with it. Sounds like, already done some reading around this. And so I kind of wanted to start with a little bit of the science, a little bit of the kind of, we just pay a little, just, a little nod to the science, because there is a bit. Not massive amounts, I'll be honest. So, there isn't actually, I said we start with the science, so there isn't actually really any specific scientific evidence for being an empath. Now, we know that empathy is definitely something that's a little bit more well researched, sympathy, empathy, etc. But there isn't really a scientific, proof or anything like that. Not that not that we need it, but I think it's always important. We have to acknowledge science. Science is quite a big deal in our current society. So it just, for those of you that are interested in the science, I kind of wanted to bring at least a little bit in. So, there isn't like a test that you can do that says, oh, I'm an empath or not. Doesn't quite work like that, but there has been a lot of research, like I said, around empathy and compassion, and there are things that we can kind of learn from those studies and potentially apply them, explore them a little bit deeper. As we know, science is a little bit slow to catch up. In many ways, so much of the knowledge that science produces essentially it confirms what ancient indigenous cultures have been practicing and living these ways of life since the dawn of time. Yeah. And then suddenly we've had the scientific revolution, and now science is kind of catching up. So we understand that science does accept energy, vibration, frequency, these things that cannot be seen, but we know that they are present. We know that they exist. Now, for us, we know that they exist, but I sometimes think it's important just to acknowledge that, science does acknowledge this. Yeah. And so although they can't be seen, we can measure them, and they play an important part in our full understanding of matter and nature. So this is an important aspect of science for empaths, because again, it just reminds us, oh, hold on a minute, this is real. Yeah. Energy is real. Vibration is real. Frequency is real. We can feel these things. We can sense them. Yeah. So it's really not actually that radical. Yeah. It's not actually that weird. It's not actually that out there. It's really normal when we think about it. So it's just a different way of kind of just thinking about these things. And so, the possibility of understanding why we're so sensible and able to pick up on subtle energy, this can be part of the explanation. Yeah. And yes, I recently came across, so this is just something I'd come across recently that I brought in, a gentleman called Jeffrey J. Cripple, and he's building on the theory of the extended mind. So if you're interested, if you're kind of like a bit nerdy like that, I'm kind of interested in doing like kind of more reading around like these kinds of sciencey things, then this is just the kind of signpost if you kind of want to. Yeah. But the extended mind theory is actually a philosophical theory, and I recommend David Chalmers on that, who's a philosopher, incredible guy. Again, really interesting, right? Like a really interesting kind of out there kind of zany guy, but he's a scientist, right? And he's a philosopher, and he talks about this kind of extended mind, that do our minds exist in our brains and all just here, or actually do our minds extend out into the world? And I mean, we kind of know that they, on some level, there's a kind of porousness between what's happening inside and outside, inside, outside. You know what I mean? And so this is the experience that empaths are really alive to. Yeah, sometimes there really isn't those kinds of boundaries. Yeah, of what's going on within and what's going on outside of us as well. Yeah. So these are just some different ways of kind of, again, if you're interested in philosophy and science and things like that. And Jeffrey Cripple, I don't know much about, but I just kind of came across him. I was like, oh, he's interesting, and like kind of fits in with this whole theme. And then also Rupert Sheldrake as well. I definitely would recommend his TED Talk, that was banned TED Talk, I have to say, but it is on YouTube. So if you type in Rupert Sheldrake banned TED Talk in YouTube, you'll find it. And he's really interesting because essentially what he's talking about psychic reality. Well, he talks about a lot of things, actually. He's talking about there's these principles of science upon which all of science is built. And essentially he in his book, it's called The Science Delusion, I believe, in the UK, but it's called something else in different, depending on which country you're in, it's got a slightly different title. But essentially he's making it his business to challenge every single one of those foundations of knowledge, because essentially what he's saying is our whole knowledge about the world are based on these principles, when actually these principles upon which they're built are on shaky ground, actually. And he's inviting us to open up a new paradigm of knowledge that expands beyond what is a very tight, these quite tight principles of science, which is anti-science itself, essentially, is what he's saying, is that actually, science is meant to continually recreate itself based on new knowledge, incorporate that new knowledge, and then research with that new knowledge in mind. And actually that's not the case in the paradigm that we currently have. There's an attachment to particular forms of knowledge, even though it looks like they don't really fit the reality. So Rupert Sheldrake is really interesting. And like I said, very unpopular in the scientific community, which you wouldn't be surprised. Has definitely had his reputation challenged, but very interesting. I definitely would recommend it, because essentially what he's trying to do is bring science into what we're interested in, which is psychic reality, empathy, telepathy, you know, these ways in which we can heal or use energy in different ways. So those are the signposts for that. And then obviously sciences cover energy and matter, which is physics and kinesiology. Have we got any kinesiologists? Anyone know about kinesiology here? So no, this is also a healing field as well. It's kind of the principle that you can use energy, that energy has a kind of motion, and it makes sense, right? Because it's kind of like I talk about trauma in this way, actually, which is kind of energy in motion, and trauma is kind of when energy gets stuck in the body, yeah, and there kind of hasn't been a movement. And so kind of kinesiology kind of works with the movement of energy and lets it flow where it wants to flow. Or at least that's kind of what I mean. That's my basic understanding of kinesiologists. If there's any experts, I've probably murdered it. But you know, so if you're interested, it's another healing modality as well. But mostly for us as empaths, we'll be more concerned with the realm of neuroscience. If we really wanted to like get into the science of it, probably neuroscience is where we'll maybe find more. Maybe a little bit of philosophy, but again, no one takes philosophy serious these days anyway either. So generally, you know, if you want like a sort of hard, you know, science, it will be neuroscience, which is really interesting. I actually studied when I did philosophy undergrad. I studied philosophy of mind, which was super interesting, like philosophy of mind and neuroscience, and this dance between these kind of two fields. Some really interesting things coming up around consciousness and the mind, etc. Like I said, if you're a bit nerdy, this might be interesting for you. But needless to say, the point is it boils down to science is starting to acknowledge that the mind has effects on matter, and matter emanates energy. So we just know this. It's just I don't even know why I have to say this, but I'm saying it, repeating it, because I think it's important for us to remember that actually when we look at the science, it just confirmed that is true. Yeah. And so that means, yeah, things that we sense can be measured and felt. We know this from, like, you know, if you're into quantum physics, you know, we know mind, matter, they have a very intricate relationship, and no one really fully understands, because no one really fully understands how the mind works. And in a way, you know, science isn't the right, you know, this kind of way of understanding the world isn't the right tool for us, at least, you know. But, you know, again, just a little bit, you know, if we're thinking about empathy, there is a part of the brain which is kind of thought to be responsible for this. So there's a paper written by these two scientists, Max Panik and Tanya Singer, and essentially they were just exploring emotional effects on the brain, and they discovered this part of the brain called the supramarginal gyrus, and it's located in the cerebral cortex. This is the outer layer of your brain. So it's actually really important. The cerebral cortex is massively important, because this is kind of where our brain stores memory, thinking, learning, reasoning, problem solving, emotions, consciousness, sensory functions. Like, it has all of these tools, basically. And so it's interesting that this part of the brain is located, this supramarginal is located in this part of the brain, because essentially this is the part of the brain thought to control empathy and compassion, and essentially has been linked with the capacity to understand and read what other people are thinking or feeling. And so it's thought that probably as empaths, we probably have what would you say, like an extra a kind of extra dose of mirror neurons, essentially, because what they are is mirror. They found this out by like basically they did this research, and actually they found that nobody in this research actually had empathy. But anyway, that's another story. So it was kind of a failure, but they located this thing in the brain which is basically responsible for the capacity to read how other people feel. Like I said, it's a very new area of research. I don't think it's probably, the priority of science right now. But again, this is just there if you're interested, if you want to kind of do a little bit more of your own study, this might be where you kind of start and springboard off from. But essentially what the point is that it has been proven that there is some aspect of us as human beings that is there for a purpose, that we are meant to know and read how each other feels. Does anyone have any thoughts on why that might be a good thing, why that might be important?
Probably for survival. I mean, if someone's going to attack you or something, you need to know like maybe what they're thinking, how they're feeling towards you. And I guess raising children, things like that, like learning what your children need, like on an emotional and practical levels.
Absolutely. It's pretty basic, right? I mean, really, when you like scrape it all back, it's like really basic. Just really being able to attune to other people means that you can read if there's a threat, or again, like you said, if you're nurturing children, you learn that what they need, how to respond to them, how to give them what they need. It's a very, very natural thing. Yeah. So let's look at different kinds of empaths. Because there are different kinds of empaths. Empath, I know, is like kind of this umbrella term, but actually there's different kind of gifts or different kinds of ways that empaths bring their gifts into the world. So it can be often difficult to differentiate. Oftentimes, some of us don't, there's not delineated. It's a bit like we could have all of them. We might just have one. We might just have a sort of blend of a few. So there isn't a kind of like hard and fast, and again, there isn't any test. You'll probably know because you know how you're experiencing the world. And so these are the 4 different kinds. So there's an emotional empath. It's probably the one that's most popular, that we most know about, because it's the one, who picks up on the emotions of others, who has all the feelings, who gets overwhelmed with all the feelings. Yeah. And just very attuned to, how is everyone feeling? What's everyone doing? And often find it very difficult to differentiate between what they are feeling and what maybe other people are feeling. I mean, some of you I know will have had the experience where you have an encounter and then you leave that encounter and you have a certain feeling, and it maybe takes you a little while to realize, hold on a minute, that's not mine. I don't feel like that. That is not how I felt when I came into that conversation, where suddenly you've left that conversation with some kind of energy that's different. And often what happens with empaths is we think we go, oh, that must be me, I feel like this. Well, no, actually what's happening is you're picking up, or you're internalizing something that someone else is feeling. And part of our thriving, becoming healthy, is really learning how to make that differentiation. Yeah. Because then you're able to just energetically hand that back, say, thank you very much, but that's not mine. I don't feel like that. That's not mine, Physical empaths. So like the emotional empath, but these empaths can feel the physical feelings of other people, so like other sensations. So I don't know if especially psychics as well, I know a few psychics that work physically. They're like, oh, I've got a pain in my knee, I've got a pain in my shoulder. Like they feel it physically. That's how they get the messages, that's how they get the experiences. Even you've heard of you might hear stories of someone who wakes up in the middle of the night and feels really sick to their stomach, and then the next day they find out their sister calls them, or brother, or family member says, oh, I was sick last night, or things like that. Yeah, just kind of those kinds of weird ways that we can transfer feeling in the body, like physical feeling in the body. Cherry, I don't know if you've had any kinds of experiences that with like being a body worker, because sometimes this can happen even in body work if you don't like, if you're not, I mean, I imagine you know how to, work with your energy, but I definitely had that in the beginning when I started doing Reiki, and I kept calling my teacher and being like, man, like this is too weird. Like I keep doing these like healings, and then I'm feeling this. And she's like, you're not protecting yourself properly. And then, you know what I mean? So that's been a bit of a journey for me, but I don't know if you can relate to that as well.
Yeah, completely. When I started, I would physically take on people's ailments, and it could take like a week to get rid of them. And
yeah,
I still feel in my body, but it's different now. I don't take it on. It's more transient, and it's more like in the moment when I'm treating them, or that morning I might wake up with a strange like sensation or pain, but it usually passes very quickly. And as soon as I've treated them, it generally is gone. For me, it's more of a like way of just knowing what they need and where to work, rather than it being something that I now take on. So I think
absolutely.
my mistake was I had like massive savior complex where I wanted to like heal everyone. And I think I sort of unconsciously was agreeing to take it on. Um, and then I kind of dropped that now, and I'm just like, whatever will be. And like, I'm not Jesus, and like whatever happens, happens, and zero expectations. So like I don't put so much pressure on myself now. And then that kind of changed everything. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's beautiful, actually, beautifully said, because actually, that is part of where we want to be, which is that we use this as a gift, because having that capacity to know, oh, that their shoulder, I feel it, I know. So now I can meet you in my work, right? And so it's actually a gift, right? But there's also like this way of letting that go, and that not becoming your stuff, your truth. You're holding something that actually isn't yours. So that's part of when this becomes a gift. Yeah. Cognitive empaths have the capacity to know what other people are thinking. So you can imagine this is kind of obviously more in the mental realm, and kind of understanding people. So again, like generally, not always, but generally, I would say the physical empath and the cognitive empath are less likely to mistake what they're feeling for something that's happening for somebody else. Yeah, not always, but generally. I feel like there's a bit more of a blurred line with the emotional empath. And then we have, last but not least, the intuitive or the spiritual empath. So this is someone who has gut feelings, can pick up this, this is usually someone who is, you'd be working as a psychic. Yeah, we have psychic abilities, etc. And we'll have non-linear cues, visuals, knowings, feelings, all of the things can come in thick and fast. So usually the empath that will struggle the most is an intuitive or spiritual empath. Yeah, because it's a lot of information, because you're not just getting the feeling, it's coming in all of these different non-linear ways. Yeah, so it can be incredibly overwhelming. And yeah, like I said, these are often the empaths that will be healers, mediums, and psychics. And then in the intuitive and the spiritual category, there again different kind of subcategories. Again, like there's not necessarily like clear cut, but usually like a spiritual empath is the kind of empath who really sees the world through a very spiritual lens, and will often really only see the best in people, because very attuned to the light, and often don't see the dark side in people. Yeah. And then you've got earth and plant empaths, who essentially very connected to nature, plants, trees, the earth. So kind of can be attuned to like even geological terrains, like the earth. There's the message in the earth. I mean, I feel that like when I travel, I kind of get a sense the land, or sometimes the land kind of speaks to me. And yeah, we can be in tune to like weather patterns, maybe knowing when it's going to rain or when it's not. These kinds of things. It's just very attuned to what the climate and the weather and the trees and nature. And can often will feel and hear what the trees and the plants and the flowers are saying. So, any of you speak to nature? Sometimes ask the tree, the sea, the sky, the sun, the moon. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, usually they do. I mean, if you ask them, they will respond. Many times. You just say, "What would you have me know? What would you have me know?" And often you'll get, it will be short, sweet, short. It will be like a kind of instant little message. But yeah, definitely recommend talking to the trees. They often have some wise thing to tell us. And then animal empaths as well. So those of you that will be connected to animals in any kind of way, and really have an affinity. We have the animal energy healing course as well. I think you know about that. So the school also offers that. And there's animal psychics, psychics who work specifically with people's animals, and yeah, they're able to just kind of tune in and speak to animals and hear what animals have to say, and also just have this kind of sense of protection of the animal kingdom as well. Often you find those are the people who set up places for animals to be rescued, like rescue centers and things like that, adoption and these kinds of things. Yeah, and thank goodness we have those people who take care of the animal kingdom as well. And so when we start to see this, we start to put this together, we really start to see all of these kinds of empaths make an incredible difference to the world. And particularly, I'm always got a little collective political bent, always a little bit. It's always in my periphery. I try not to make it my central, but it's there. We know we're living in this world right now. There's a lot going on, actually. And these are the things that we need more of in the world. Yeah, more caring for the animals, more caring for others, looking after things. It's actually an incredible thing to have that connection and desire. And so I would say spiritual empaths maybe have a little bit more responsibility in that respect, and might be called to work on a more collective level as well, rather than just personal. But again, no hard, fast rules here, just a general no. You might find emotional empaths generally, or maybe even cognitive empaths generally might work in therapeutic, like, talking therapy, or, etc., etc. Physical empaths might work more like somatic therapy, trauma, etc., etc. So it's no hard, fast rules, but we start to see how these gifts and talents can be brought into the world and actually bring light, healing, spaces of things that are needed in the world. Yeah. Any thoughts, any questions before we move on? And
I've just kind of jumped on the animal I'm like looking at the course. I didn't realize there was an animal communication course. Oh, wow. There's
yeah.
not loads of information. It says to get in touch. Do you have a rough idea like how much it costs? It says it starts the 1st of February, so I don't know if I'm too late, but
I have no idea. I'm so
no
sorry.
idea. Okay. It's all right. I'll email.
I know that they celebrated, I think it's like, I want to say like 10 years or so. It's been a long time. The lady who teaches it has been doing it for a long time. She's incredible. She's incredible. Incredible. That's what I do know. I can tell you that.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like I can communicate better with cats than most humans, so.
Yeah. Bless them animals. Oh. Gina, did you have something? Did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was going to say I'm most definitely an spiritual empath, and I'm very intuitive plus emotional. So that kind of explains why I'm completely overwhelmed most of the time. So, but yeah, it kind of whenever something rings true to me, I feel very, very emotional. And I had that feeling. So it kind of just confirmed that I'm kind of on the right path, really. Yeah, that was all.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Gina. Thank you so much. Um,
I was
okay.
going to agree with Gina
Yeah,
as well.
Janet.
That's what, yeah. Sorry. I
No, no, no,
agree.
jump in.
I thought like while I was reading the types, I was like, oh, this resonates, this resonates. But then you got to spiritual, and I was like, often doesn't see the dark side in people. I'm like, yeah, it's like, yeah, that would be me. I think like it's almost like people would come to me and be like, how did you not see this? Like, right? And I'm still like, but I feel like there's more to this person. Like, I can see this other thing or this side. I keep going and believing in that person. And it, I mean, never ends really well, but it's that literally this whole spiritual thing of, and I try to get it out of them too. So I'm
Yeah.
always like sticking by them till the end, we're gonna get through this. But yeah,
Yeah.
but that was like very weird. Like often doesn't see the dark side of people. I'm like, yeah, okay. That
Yeah.
resonates.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's again, it's a beautiful gift to be able to have,
Yeah.
right? Oh, wait, all right. In other ways, when without discernment, yeah, then suddenly, you may be working with people whose energies you can't see their dark side, yeah. But at the same time,
Mm.
actually, it's a beautiful thing to be able to see the light in someone and invite them to connect to their own light inside of themselves. For those who are willing, ready, wanting to experience themselves in that way, it's a gift. But often it's just, again, that's more just to do with discernment and just knowing if it's ready. And then also, Sherry talked about the savior complex, but we'll talk about that a little bit more, which is that kind of sense that like, oh, I can save people, I can, and it's not our responsibility actually. And when we start to understand spiritual principles, universal principles, yeah, we need to be mindful where that's our ego and actually not us using our spiritual gifts for good in the world.
Yeah, I think that's an important one that I have to like. That's what when I was reading the book too. That whole concept of like I can save this person, but actually no, like it's not about saving the person, right? It's like yeah, it's hard to kind of differentiate that, but
Absolutely. That's not our
yeah,
responsibility. Yeah. So that's kind of where we take on things that we're not really supposed to take on. Yeah. And then actually we could do ourselves a massive favor and go, what someone else chooses to do with their life is their choice. That's not my responsibility. God bless them. But it's not my responsibility because that's free will. Yeah. Um,
Is there, sorry, is there a difference between like, obviously I've done the psychic development course and you
yeah.
go through the clairs, because
Mhm.
a lot of these obviously like correlate. Like,
Yeah,
is it just a different way of phrasing it?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Clairsentient.
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you'll probably find if you're an emotional empath and you're also psychic and you may be spiritual empath as well, probably you're clairsentient. If you're a little bit cognitive, you're probably claircognizant. I mean, it does track on. Again, it's not clear cut. Yeah. So we're not trying to make this like a diagram, a scientific, I mean, it kind of isn't that clear cut. Often there is a little bit of blurred lines, but generally, yes, absolutely. And we know we've got psychic animal healers, we've got the different Claire, this, yeah, absolutely it tracks. But not every empath is going to be a psychic. So I just have to say that not every empath is going to be a psychic, and not every psychic is an empath. Yeah. But oftentimes there is a bit of a blur and a crossover.
Can I just say, from what Janet was saying about not seeing the dark side, I think I see both. I see the dark, but I also see their true selves, without the trauma and all the
Yeah.
bullshit. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a bit with the savior complex that I've had before, where I kind of want them so desperately to become that person. Because I'm like, I know that's not you. I know that's just like whatever's happened to you has made you that way, and it's kind of always wanting people to be the best version of themselves. But um, I came across the phrase detached compassion a really long time ago, and like I really like to think of it that way now, that it's like you can have sympathy and empathy for people, but you don't have to like take it on as your own, and it's like you said, autonomy, and it's their personal responsibility to change ultimately. So
Absolutely.
you can only do so much. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And it's there's a strange irony actually that actually the more boundaried that we are and the more that we protect our energy, actually the more we have capacity for compassion. Because actually if you're in close connection with people that you're deeply compassionate about, but who maybe cross your boundaries, who are not respectful for whatever reason, and we could maybe say, oh, they're wounded, they're this, they're that, whatever the reason, yeah, why they show up in the world in that way. But ultimately, it's not we're not actually we that's a breeding ground for resentment. Actually, in the end, it's not actually a place where healing can emerge. So actually, once we detach, like you said, the more that we detach in some ways, actually, the more that we can free up the space for compassion and for others. And it feels genuine because our energy is protected in that. And then our energy can genuinely be a gift. And it's not just, again, a kind of savior complex, a ego thing, a control thing, because that's not our responsibility ultimately. Yeah. Okay. So just a quick note, because obviously this course is for both empaths and highly sensitive people. So what is the difference? So generally, I say the difference is that empaths are born and highly sensitive people are made. So oftentimes, people may have experiences in their lives, maybe a spiritual awakening or some kind of traumatic experience, where that connects them to a deeper sense of sensitivity. And then they can start to grow their sensitivity from there. And then they will also experience all of the kinds of, everything we've discussed already. They might be emotional empath, et cetera, et cetera. So they might then gain access to these different capacities of sensitivity, essentially. And often it comes with a new chapter, a new chapter in somebody's life. So that's kind of the distinction I make, because I will see in the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about empaths and trauma, but generally I would say empaths are born. So you're generally will be born with that level of sensitivity. Sometimes there's not a difference, in the sense that it's not to say empaths don't go on and have big traumatic experiences or spiritual awakenings, and that deepens their connection. But often you will find it with empaths, generally you will say, like I know some of you said in the introduction this morning, like I've always been like this. I've always been like this, and then highly sensitive people, generally, like I said, it's something that's acquired through some kind of experience. There's no difference, there's not hierarchy or anything like that, but that's generally how I make the distinction.
Can I just come in there, though?
Of course, Gina. Yes, please.
Because the woman that I understood first identified highly sensitive people was Elaine Aron, and she says that HSPs are born. So we're born like it. And I've also heard that empaths are made. So it's like the opposite to
the
what you're
opposite.
saying. I mean, I don't think it really matters, actually, because we are what we are. But yeah, she was very clear that about 15 to 20% of the population are born with highly sensitive tendencies. And interestingly, I've got a grandson who's 2, and I've seen those qualities, HSP qualities, in him since he was born. So, it's just curious. It's just
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's probably saying the same thing, which is that some people are just like that, and then some people kind of end up like that, whatever the label. And actually, interestingly, when you talk about your grandson as well, because I do believe a lot of the time this stuff is also ancestral. It's like it
I agree.
through the lineage, in the same way, like sometimes psychic, you have a family of psychics, etc. Again, it just, and oftentimes it skips a generation, so it will, it can just skip the next generation and the next, like a little bit like that. Sometimes it works like that as well, but definitely, it travels through the family line. Yeah,
for sure.
I have to read this book. I haven't read this actually. So you'll have to share.
I've got my copy here. Highly sensitive. Yeah.
Ah,
Orange.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to check this out. Yeah, because I have not read this book. So yeah,
Okay.
thank you. And do just jump in at any time, ask questions, jump in, comment. Let it be interactive. So oftentimes you'll hear people talk about empaths and trauma. Yeah, so this is quite a common and I always make this distinction between what we might describe as a trauma response and what is ultimately our empathic or sensitive like our gifts of sensitivity. Sometimes there's crossover again. There's not these delineated lines. Sometimes it's not so easy to delineate. But it's important to understand that it is different. There's a difference here. Yeah. So often, yes, you can be both an empath and have experienced trauma. But the idea that somehow you've experienced trauma, so therefore you're an empath, I don't feel that is a true connection. That's my sense. Yeah, there's sometimes they go together, but they're not necessarily, there isn't necessarily a correlation. So trauma has very specific qualities and healing approaches, and empaths can benefit from that. Yeah, so we can start to do trauma work and benefit from that. But I would still say that I would still make a distinction that they're not necessarily the same thing. Yeah, we're not necessarily working with the same energy. And then obviously I would also say empaths can be more vulnerable to experiencing trauma because they have such a high level of sensitivity, can have more heightened nervous system and reaction and response experiences to events that other people might not. Or, like we've discussed, might be putting themselves in harmful relationships for the sake of maybe thinking that they're taking care of somebody and experience relational trauma as well. Yeah. So there's different ways in which maybe being highly sensitive can expose you to different kinds of trauma experiences. Or like we discussed, maybe a traumatic experience is connected us more deeply to our gift of sensitivity. And I think it's definitely worth discussing trauma because well, to some extent, we're all carrying some level of trauma in our bodies. Yeah. And so I think it's just a useful way of understanding ourselves, healing ourselves. But I wouldn't be in the category of person that would say that trauma is why people are empathic. Yeah. I think it's a natural gift. And a natural, normal, like we've seen, human superpower that's actually really important, really needed, and has a very important place in the world. Yeah. But let's look a little bit at some trauma responses. So, for example, fawn response. So these are some, I mean, there's other trauma responses as well, but these were the ones that I felt that kind of feel more relevant. Oh my God. To so the flies here, they're so intense. So these are kind of more trauma responses that we might find that can have a little bit of a blur and a crossover between maybe what we're thinking is an empathic response. It might actually be a trauma response. Yeah. And it's really important that we know the difference. Yeah. Candice? Sorry.
Yes, no problem. I wanted to ask, if you're like born an empath, and then I had quite a traumatic thing where I was diagnosed with a neurological disease, FND, functional neurological disorder. Would that then increase the empathic feelings to like even more? Because yeah, it was, I couldn't leave the house type of thing. It was terrible for me.
Wow. And did you
Like, I don't know.
did you feel that it increased your sensitivity? Do you feel that it gave you extra?
I felt that it was even more difficult to cope just
Yeah.
on Earth as a sense of being on Earth, like, because I'd have seizures, non-epileptic seizures all day, every day,
Wow.
and a lot during the day. I
Yeah.
still have seizures at the moment, but I think it's less. It's much less than I started having.
Yeah. So I think I would say this, because I'm not a medical expert, so I'm reticent to comment on medical, you know what I mean? And I don't know you
Yes.
specifically, but I think intuitively when you say that, I guess what I feel is that any kind of illness actually kind of puts us in a different, almost energetic space to the world that we're in. Like it's a kind of another form of isolation. And actually this can connect us even more deeply to spirit, but can make us feel even less connected to the world that we're living in. And I would say that generally, yeah, that illness can do that. And often illness, particularly like chronic or or like serious illness, like like cancer, for example, or anything like that, can
Yes.
really open us up to experiencing the world in a completely different way that most people who are just going about their daily lives are not experiencing. So it kind of puts you in that place. So I can definitely see how that would increase
Okay.
feeling of isolation, but not just isolation, but also a
Yes.
spiritual connection as well, in a
Yes.
strange
Oh, cool.
paradoxical way. You know what I mean?
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So these are some of the things to just look out for. Yeah, fawn response. So it's when we abandon our own needs to serve others. We've kind of discussed this a little bit. It can be called like please and appease. It depends at different, so it's associated with people pleasing, codependency. So common fawning responses or behaviors are, finding it difficult to say no, being overly apologetic, avoiding conflict, taking on responsibility for other people's emotional reactions and behaviors. And hypervigilance is another one, kind of, increased alertness. So just kind of being aware of like, even if I don't know, if you're like me, like out at a restaurant and then suddenly we're just like, I'm just constantly aware of everything and everyone, right? And part of that's being sensitive and empathic, but some of that is like being hyper vigilant. You know the difference between just being alert and aware, and then this hyper vigilant state, which is actually again like maybe a symptom of trauma. And so it can just make you alert to hidden dangers. Yeah, so often it can mean like it in a negative way. In a positive way, it can make you like, again, it's an awareness. Yeah, and it allows you to be in attunement with your environment, with people that you are alongside. But in its negative, suddenly we're looking for danger that isn't actually there. Suddenly we're afraid of things that maybe aren't actually present. Yeah, so we just want to be mindful of that. Freeze response, again, hypervigilance is a trauma response. Yeah, it's a natural trauma response because we're not safe in our bodies, so we're not experiencing the world as safe, and so we want to be mindful of that. Yeah. Freeze response, stilling of movement, numbness, lack of sensation, arousal, disassociation, not there, shut down. Again, generally not associated with empaths because we're feeling so much, but can be a means of managing the overwhelm of feeling so much, sensing so much. The body is just too much for the body to process. Yeah. So there's a kind of like boom, shutting down. I can't remember who was talking in the beginning about wanting to find that difference between being able to be sensitive without it being overwhelming, so you can be with the feeling but not shut down completely. So again, maybe this is where it's a kind of protective response. Yeah, it's like I just need to just not feel anything and just shut this down in order to protect myself and feel safe in my body. Again, we just want to be mindful of these. Yeah, it's not either or. It's just, okay, sometimes when we want to pay attention to where these might be present, then we can really, again, it's just a chance for us to fully really be in our gift and not in what might be actually a trauma response. And then flight response, obviously fidgety, excessive movement, darting eyes, running away, escaping, discomfort in the body, tension, anxiety, etc. And again, this might show up as hypervigilance as well. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So where are we? What time? So, okay, where are we at? Wow, the time goes so fast. My goodness. Right. I didn't realize I should have kept an eye on the time. So we're at our like journal moment. Okay. So any questions, thoughts, feelings before we just come into a little bit of quiet reflection time? Anyone kind of want to share anything in the space? Cherry? Yes.
Um, well, I've already seen the question about what type of empath you think you are. Like, are you pr predominantly one, or can you be a collection? Because I felt like I resonated with all of them pretty much.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Then yeah, it's not, you don't have to choose one. Definitely not.
Okay.
Yeah. It's often not what just one. Often it isn't. Yeah. Um, anyone else before we move on? Now we've spoiled the surprise. No, I'm only joking. There was not a surprise. Um, okay, so let's just take a moment just to like let some of this land and do this private, this personal reflection. So these are your general reflections. I'm going to give it 10 minutes actually. I'm going to give us 10 minutes for this. Because I'd like us to do some other things as well before we finish. So 3 questions. What kind of empath do you think you are? And what kind of ways, think about the evidence, what kind of ways does this show up in your life, and kind of what lets you know that you're maybe that kind of empath? And in what ways do you feel that these are positive, and in what ways do you feel that these are a challenge? And write some experiences and examples of both. And I'll leave this up so you can see it. Would you prefer to have these and then see the slide on the kinds of empaths, or are you okay? Do you remember all the different kinds of empaths?
I'd quite like to see the different
Yeah.
empaths
So
again.
I'll tell you what, let me do this. I am going to, hang on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put these in the chat so that you'll have them, the questions. And then, so you've got those in the chat, yeah? You can see those. Well, this is an extension of the chat. Oh, look at that. All the chat's still there. So that's in the chat, and then we'll go back to that slide, and then you can see that. There we are. Okay, so I'm going to give us 10 minutes. Hang on a second, just one moment, guys. Sorry. I just have to stop the share for a moment. Good old timer on. See you in a moment. That. How are we getting on? All set already?
Shaka, can I just ask? I have to go somewhere at 8 o'clock, so will we
Sure.
be finished on time?
I would like us to be. Yes, I would like us to be. So let's move on. Because I really would like you to just have just a quick exercise together. So I'm going to put you into breakout groups. Just again for another 10 minutes and just give you an opportunity just to discuss some of this with each other. Okay, so I'm going to just stop the share now. And let me just put you into breakout groups because hang on. I haven't thought this very. The actually, hang on. What's happened here? Oh, me and this technology. Okay, sorry. I figured it out. So I'm going to share. This is what I would like you to do is just take a moment, 10 minutes, and just have a little discussion with each other and share if you're comfortable to. Just thinking about where in your life your specific empathic gift has shown up. And then again, discussing, just maybe exploring a little bit more what was challenging or what was positive. And yeah, what you felt was the difference in those two examples, maybe why that was different, why one situation it felt like a positive experience and why in another situation it felt like something difficult or challenging, and maybe just mapping and exploring what was the difference there. Yeah. And can we then map that more positive experience over the negative example? Can we see what the difference was? And can we see maybe what was needed or what would have made that a different experience? Yeah. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the group so you can see it when you're you should have access to the chat, I believe, when you're in your breakout groups. Aisha, yeah, jump in, please.
What do you mean by how can I map it like positive over negative? What does that mean?
Yeah, so I mean that so for example, if we say that my empathic gift is one of feeling other people's emotions, yeah. So in one situation that might have been where my friend was sad and I knew that she was sad and I was able to give her a call and say, are you okay? What do you need? Yeah. And then maybe there was another situation where you maybe sent someone's emotion, but it left you open to maybe a more negative experience. For example, maybe you approached someone and said, hey, I think you're feeling X, Y, and Z, and it had a bad reaction. And maybe just understanding where that what was the difference? Yeah. What was the shift? What made one experience of that gift or you know, or like we've talked about with the spiritual gifts, yeah, maybe on some occasion where you've maybe been blindsided by somebody's, you know, more negative side, and in that sense it's been quite a negative experience, but then there's been another time when you've really been able to actually use it as a gift and create some healing in somebody's life. And what is the difference, and what is the what, you know, just trying to just explore a little bit more about what might be the different elements that make our gifts show up in a more positive way and in maybe a less positive way. Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Shaka,
And Gina, if you do need to go, do you need to
I think
yeah.
I mean, I'll email you about my other commitment, but I think I'll opt out of this one because I can see 10 minutes, and then I'm going to have to go. So rather than
Yeah.
interrupt someone else's work with
I actually
me,
have the same problem. I cannot be later than 8. So yeah, in case
okay,
it's gonna get in between a
I
discussion.
tell you what, then let's do this. Can we take these as a journal prompt? Yeah. And just so that we finish on time. I'm always aware of time, and I would like us to finish together today. Yeah. Does anyone? I tell you what. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write these down and send them in the group. Yeah. And I'm going to add it to your homework because you actually got homework as well. So maybe let's talk about the homework as well. So this always happens. This the time, man. You think 2 hours, but it's actually just seems not to be long enough. Can you see this? Am I sharing my screen? I'm not, am I? So homework is can you see this? You can write this down, but I am gonna send these 2 slides in the group as well, or I'll email them to you. Everyone's in the group. I just want to double check. Is everyone in the group? Because then I'll just put it in the group. Yeah, is everyone already in the group? Yeah.
In the WhatsApp group? No, I'm not. Can you add me if I send you my number? Because the thing that happens is I have 2 WhatsApps and one's work, and it always automatically adds me through my work number, which I don't want to do.
No problem. You just send me your number again, and then just
Yeah,
remind me,
okay.
yeah? And then I can add you, and then I can just
Thank
send
you.
it, and I'll send all the recordings, and then these little things we'll send them into the group. Yeah. So the homework, so you don't have to write this out. You can, but you don't have to. Yeah. So this is just your homework, is just observe how you'll get, just start to bring more awareness as to when it shows up, how it's showing up, and just keeping that track, just tracking it. No story, no narrative, no good, no bad, just kind of when is it positive, when is it challenging, and just kind of just keeping a track. Yeah. And then I'll also send those these discussion prompts, and you can do them as journal prompts. Yeah. And maybe you can arrange to meet up with each other at some point if you would want to do that as well and discuss with each other as well. Yeah. So just before we just kind of round it off, any comments? I'd love to know kind of, yeah, how are you feeling after the first class? Anything that's particularly resonated? Anything you want to share? I mean, you're welcome to share even anything that immediately comes up. Kind of, does anyone have any thoughts of a moment when they can really see a clear, oh, that was really positive, or that was really negative? Gina?
Well, yeah, if you like, I can. Yeah, one of the things that I often do is if somebody isn't owning their own feelings or aren't aware of their own feelings, I feel it for them. And I remember going around to a friend of mine who suffers with depression, and he said he didn't know why he was feeling depressed, and I just felt this overwhelming kind of grief, and so I said, but didn't your friend die recently? And he was like, oh yeah, but I mean, I knew he was going to die, so it doesn't bother me, but I was just like feeling it all for him. And I was able to kind of say that, but in a kind of way that he could hear, and it really actually made a big difference to how he felt. But I've also been in situations where the person doesn't accept that's how they feel, and so it doesn't work out quite so well.
Yeah. I love that. That's a really beautiful, clear example where that is like you gave that person an opportunity to really be with their grief and heal or bring awareness to it. Because often, I mean, that is often the case, is when we're not feeling our feelings or knowing how we're feeling, we don't even know why things are happening in our life and, why we feel the way we feel. There's usually a connection. So yeah, that's kind of profound. So thank you. Thank you, Gina.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
I noticed, and I felt like my list of negatives was much longer than the positive. I started writing, I was like, oh my God. I think maybe it's just more detailed, but like energy vampires came up. So I think that's kind of, for me, I feel like I really attract energy vampires because they know that I am an empath, and it's like they feel good around me, or they're attracted to the fact that I understand them and can empathize, but then I feel like it gets flipped and I get manipulated a lot. So in a way that other people don't, because they're kind of like, oh, but you're so nice and you understand, you know? So I think that's my lifelong battle, is sort of like rolled out with a bit of people pleasing and,
Yeah.
my own trauma or whatever. But yeah, like learning how to set boundaries and then not feel guilty when they don't like the response, like
Absolutely. And we are doing boundaries next week. So just to be just looking ahead preemptively, we will be looking at boundaries next week. What's mine? What's yours? What's mine to hold? And actually what's yours to hold? What's your responsibility to hold and what's mine? Yeah. And that is a massive, this is the big massive key to looking after yourself and looking after your energy, and being able for it to again be in a space where it actually is a gift and not something that is, like you said, someone just because people will, because it is a gift and they, so it's just knowing those boundaries as well. So yeah, I'm aware of time. So thank you, Cherry. I feel like there was so much more to say and I'm sorry. So we'll just wrap up to get together today, because I think that's important, and I do want to like honor our time as well. I think that's important, and I'm really bad with that. I am, there's no time space continuum. It's a little bit, so I really, it's good. It anchors me in this time and space continuum. So let's just come together. Let's just take a moment again just to place our left hand on our heart, our right hand on our abdomen. And I'm just going to stop the share now as well. We'll just finish together here and just close the eyes. And just honoring, just taking a moment just to just soak in everything that all the information that we've taken in today. Or just maybe just check in with yourself, how you're feeling, what's present. Is it slightly different from the beginning? Just taking a moment just to connect to your breath. And I just want to take a moment just to thank you all for being here. And I'm just very excited for us all to be here together and this journey that we're taking together. And just know every one of you is appreciated, your voice, your heart, your feelings, your perspective. And just I hope you continue to have a beautiful rest of your week, and just holding space for all of it. And just notice, bring awareness, bring light. Let's take a nice big deep inhale. Exhale. Inhale, bring the hands together. And we'll close there. Thank you so much. When all being well, I'll see you all next week. All right. And just know the WhatsApp is there. And I'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
See you Thursday.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.